In this video, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the inner radius of kind of this object. Okay, now you'll notice, no real dimensions on here, but everything we're going to need is actually in kind of the word problem. The image is mostly there to help you kind of see what we're connecting. So in an insulated bottle with a circumference of 28 inches, okay, we need to go ahead and take a look at So, in this video, we're taking a look at calculating the inner radius with the information that is given. Now, just a quick glance, we're seeing an image, but we're not seeing much dimensions. We're basically just saying that this is kind of the insulated bottle. We've got the liner, the internal part of it, kind of shown in the shaded colors. The problem itself is telling us that an insulated bottle with a circumference of 28 inches needs an inner liner with a radius 2/3 of the outside radius of the bottle. So we need to spend some time to calculate ultimately what is the radius of that inner liner. Okay? And we're asked to go ahead and answer that question to the nearest ½ inch. So recognize that we're given information about the circumference, so the outer portion of the bottle, but we're ultimately looking for the radius of the liner, basically a little bit kind of inside. Now recognize the differences between some of the language here. We have circumference, we have radiuses, and while not mentioned, we know that diameter can often be used in some of the calculations that we may be looking at. So, as always, we identify key information. In this case, circumference of 28 inches. The inner radius, or inner liner, has a radius 2/3 of the outside radius, and we're ultimately finding that inner radius. So to get started, we probably need to start with the numbers that they've provided us. So the circumference being equal to 28 inches, we need to flash back to some of our usual formula calculations. And in this case, circumference is also equal to 2 times pi times r. R, of course, being radius. But because we know that we have two different radiuses, radius of the outside, radius of the inside, the linear part, we probably want to spend some time going ahead and differentiating those. So we're going to say that 28 inches is equal to that 2 times pi times r, but we'll go ahead and put it in a subscript notation of the outside, because we know that 28-inch circumference is of the entire bottle. From there, we divide both sides by 2 pi. Now, an important thing that we've talked about kind of before is recognize that if you're entering in the calculator, include those parentheses, because we want that 2 pi to stay together. If we put it into a calculator as 28 inches, well, let's go ahead and put it in the calculator. If we do not separate it, so 28 divided by 2 pi, we end up with a really big number, because you might notice 2 times pi. What the calculator is doing is basically saying that 28 divided by 2 is the first step. Then, whatever the answer of that is, we multiply by pi. Whereas if we put our parentheses in and we run the calculation again, okay, there's a big difference between those two sets of numbers. So we do not want the 43.98. Okay. We do want, okay, to go ahead and have it the r out. Okay, so those basically canceled out. That radius of the outside is the 4.456 inches. Okay. So again, be careful with the parentheses. Make sure you're keeping track of which part you're talking about, because now we can also look at the problem and say that the radius of the inside is equal to 2/3 the radius of the outside. Okay. Take our outside radius, plug it in, okay, and we can basically say 2 divided by 3 times our initial answer of 4.456, and we can see that the inside radius is going to be equal to 2.971, if we're really going picky in this, inches. Okay? Except, okay, the last little part of this is make sure you're paying attention to the instructions. Okay? So for this one, radius of the outside, okay, or sorry, the radius of the inside needs to be the nearest half inch. We're basically being told to round to the nearest half inch. So we're actually looking for our interior, okay, the inside one, is approximately, okay, swirly equal marks, 3 inches. Okay, so this is actually the answer to our problem. So hope that helps. Okay, hope that's giving you kind of the ideas of order of operations, how you have to pay attention to the language, the different meanings, and of course the formulas, and how we enter it in the calculator. So a lot of little details in there, but with all of our calculations, okay, the devil is in the details. You have to make sure that what you are implying, okay, what you want to happen, is what actually is happening. The clearer instructions you give, the more accurate your answers are going to be. So until next time, as always, leave me comments, leave me questions, and I'll help you out where I can. And the best of luck on your future calculations.